whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, and the whole nine yards, this isn't a man.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Culls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs, too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, November 15th, 2020. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Culls, along with my co-host,
Hey,
Mr.
Steve.
Chris Bennett.
What's been going on, my man?
What is happening? Yes, we're on the double shot today.
Yeah,
So-
I noticed that. That's pretty cool. I feel like I'm like, I have you above me and below me.
Yes. And we'll say our hellos to folks in a minute.
Yeah.
But I don't know what is going on with that.
Oh, I got some good news. A couple of months ago when the grass was really tall, my lawnmower, well, one of them blew up, the little riding lawnmower.
Oh,
And
yes.
so I took it to the shop to get the engine replaced, and they finally called me, yesterday, I think, left a message. I think it's ready. Of course, the leaves have like fallen now, so I don't really need it now, but that's okay. I'll go pick it up.
Yeah, nothing like, mowing the lawn in the fall.
Well, yeah.
So, but anyway, let's get our hellos out of the way, and then we'll talk. We'll have a little talk first, and we'll get into we got a fun clip for you guys tonight, which I'm really looking forward to showing you. We'll get a good laugh out of that, and it has nothing to do with Bigfoot or politics or COVID or anything like that.
Good.
But let's say hi to our folks. Hello, B. Good to see you.
Hi, B.
John. Good to
Hi,
see
John.
you.
Welcome.
Diane. Good to see
Hi.
you. I hope we see Mr. Wonton in here soon.
Yeah. Hi, Dan.
Hello to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Tag.
He looks so serious in that picture, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, what's going on? Great picture, by the way. Great picture.
Hi, Joe.
Carrie, how you doing tonight?
Carrie.
And hey, I'm
on
Chris.
the
Pop will win a Snapple. Well, kind of. I got my own right here. So
Well, I'm a ski drinker, but I have drank Snapple. It's okay.
I have my energy drink and my green tea here tonight. So just to keep
Usually,
my
yeah. in Kentucky, we drink iced tea by the gallon, so it's actually cheaper for us. Cheaper, more thrifty, for us to like make it by the gallon. That's it.
Yeah, well, exactly. So anyway, folks, we apologize for not being on the last couple of weeks. A lot of people don't know that, like the last 3 out of 4 weeks, we've kind of not had a show. And the reason being is because I'm dealing with some herniated discs. And they are not in my lower back, thank God, because the pain I'm feeling, that I have them in the C8, T1, T2, and every once in a while they tend to herniate for whatever reason. Sometimes if I sit too much, and we all know that the COVID season was not good for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, they herniated, and it pretty much made me unable really to use my left arm effectively. But I'm glad to say tonight it's doing fairly well. There's still a couple of motions. My range of motion isn't 100% yet, but it's about 85%, which is good for me. And, luckily, it was the point where if I bang my arm the wrong way, it'd feel like somebody took a bat to my arm. So, I apologize for not being on there. It really stunk to have that. And hello, James. Welcome, sir. I'm glad you could catch the show as well live this week.
Yeah.
So
glad to have you.
Yep, absolutely. And today we're going to be talking about,
Hi, Sherry.
Yeah, I sympathize with you there too. Yeah, well, I fell downstairs back at the in 2019, broke a couple of ribs. So yeah, it's been a hell of a couple of years for me, and so yep. And it looks like COVID's making a comeback, which we kind of all expected that it would make a comeback during flu season anyway. I don't really want to get into the politics of it. Just wear a mask, keep your distance, and please, 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 constantly use some hand sanitizer to keep your hands. I tell people to wear a mask. I know people get bitchy about that, but wear a mask because you don't know what other people got.
Right.
If anything, it's going to keep you from the flu. But
and listen,
hopefully,
guys, don't drink the hand sanitizer.
No, don't drink the hand sanitizer. Nah, not good.
Not
and
good.
Thank you, B. Thank you, B. So, but yeah. So, anyway, you want to get to the video? The video is pretty freaking funny.
I need some relief. Let's watch this video.
I saw this video, and just so folks know, StreamYard's doing, for the last few months, we've had to mute our main terminal because of an echo issue. But StreamYard is growing so big, the platform we're on, that they've had to start to accommodate artists and people that want to play and musicians. So they've really come a long way with getting their audio set. So all of a sudden, I don't have to mute that anymore, and that just is one less thing I have to do, which gets the show off a little smoother. And hello to you, John. Good to see you.
Welcome, John.
But anyway, this caught my eye a couple of days ago, so we got to watch this. This is a good laugh, and I'm probably going to pause it to have a little commentary on. So here it is.
It had to be said, the Oregon State Highway Division not only had a whale.
Okay, there we go. Something just went not right. There we go. Hello?
It had to be said, the Oregon State Highway Division not only had a whale of a problem on its hands, it had a stinking whale of a problem. What to do with one 45-foot, 8-ton whale dead on arrival on the beach near Florence. It had been so long since a whale had washed up in Lane County, nobody could remember how to get rid of one. In selecting its battle plan, the Highway Division decided the carcass couldn't be buried because it might soon be uncovered. It couldn't be cut up and then buried because nobody wanted to cut it up, and it couldn't be burned. So dynamite it was, some 20 cases or a half ton of it.
Now, do you see a problem right there growing, Chris?
Only 20 cases of dynamite.
Only 20 cases. Somehow I don't think this is going to go very well.
The hope was that the long-dead Pacific gray whale would be almost disintegrated by the blast, and that any small pieces still around after the explosion would be taken care of by seagulls or scavengers. Indeed, the seagulls had been standing...
Seagulls are scavengers. That's awesome.
...nearby all day. As everything was being... George Thornton, the highway engineer in charge of the project, for his final observation.
Well, I'm confident that it'll work. The only thing is we're not sure exactly how much explosives it'll take to disintegrate this thing so the scavengers, seagulls and crabs and whatnot can clean it up.
Is there any chance it might be more than a one-day job?
If there's any large chunks left, and we may have to do some other cleanup, possibly set another charge.
The dynamite was buried primarily on the leeward side of the big mammal, so as most of the remains would be blown toward the sea. About 75 bystanders, most of them residents who had first found the whale to be an object of curiosity before they tied...
Here's a question. Is that Mike Rugg? Remember Mike Rugg?
You know what?
So if anybody knows...
There is a resemblance,
There is. He's got the same cap.
of its smell were moved back a quarter of a mile away. The sand dunes there were covered with spectators and land lubber newsmen, shortly to become land blubber newsmen, where the blast blasted blubber beyond all believable bounds.
You get a wild?
This is a good 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Uh-oh.
All right, Fred, you can take your hands out of your ears. Here comes pieces of...
Our cameras stopped rolling immediately after the blast. The humor of the entire situation suddenly gave way to a... as huge chunks of whale blubber fell everywhere. Pieces of meat passed high over our heads while others were falling at our feet. The dunes were rapidly evacuated as both the falling debris and the overwhelming smell. A parked car over a quarter of a mile from the blast site was the target of one large chunk. The passenger compartment literally smoked. Fortunately, no human was hit as badly as the
Look,
car.
it's whale blubber.
However, everyone on the scene was covered with small particles of dead whale. As for the success of the effort, well, the seagulls...
Now, I got to stop it right here because all this broken glass, this caved-in car, whale blubber everywhere, and there's a little kid right up in the car. Hey, what's going on here?
Here, Johnny, play with the broken glass. What could go
Johnny,
wrong?
here, don't chew on it, though. We're worried about lead paint, but screw the broken glass everywhere. The caved-in car and whale blubber. Yeah.
Who were supposed to clean things up were nowhere in sight, either scared away by the explosion or kept away by the smell. That didn't really matter. The remaining chunks were of such a size that no respectable seagull would attempt to tackle anyway. As
George, you're fired.
darkness began to set in, the highway crews were back on the beach.
Yeah, that was the town supervisor going, George, you can pick up your last paycheck this week on Friday. You're done. And I think Chris just had a stroke.
Burying the remains, including a large piece of the carcass which never left the blast site. It might be concluded that should a whale ever wash ashore in Lane County again, those in charge will not only remember what to do, they'll certainly remember what not to do.
Ain't that the truth? So
I can smell that from here. Can you imagine the steak? Oh my God! Oh,
yeah, that wasn't that wasn't good.
Also, imagine the guy that had the crushed, looked like a '98 Oldsmobile there, having to explain. I'm trying to explain to his insurance company that he hit a whale.
Yeah, sorry, listen. Big bunch of whale blubber came down on the car. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, I'm dying.
You know, now I understand why they have the farmers commercials.
Thanks, Steve. I needed that.
Sorry.
Man.
Especially, George, you can pick up your paycheck on Friday.
Yeah. Well, you got 40 cases of dynamite. I mean, when you think about it, you know, that's probably should have been enough to completely evaporate it. But I guess they, depending on how it was placed, you know. But,
well, I don't know. I 40 cases of dynamite. How many sticks to a case? I don't know.
Look like a lot.
but you would need to take like probably like 1,000 cases of dynamite to actually make it vaporize, because you need that heat. I mean, like a ton of dynamite.
Right. Well, here's what I was thinking when they first started trying to figure out how to get rid of this. Okay, it's mostly whale blubber, right? So what did people used to do with whale blubber? Well, they would like melt it down and burn it. Ah. They could have set that dude on fire and maybe, he might have lasted for a couple of weeks there, but he would have eventually gone away.
Hello, Sarah. Good to see you.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie.
Oh, wow. Our audience shares everything with everybody. But wow. Yes. Whale blubber. So anyway, Chris, this week, let me explain too. Another thing that's every once in a while too, I get so frustrated with what's been going on with Bigfoot research lately. I'm seeing, number one, we're getting deluged with crappy pictures all the time. We're getting deluged with these crazy ideas and people finding stick structures as evidence and stuff like that. Whatever happened to footprints as part of the evidence trail? Seems like we've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Because that if a footprint is legitimate, people may say, "Oh, well, it's not really evidence." We've had lots of them, but at least you're looking at a Sasquatch if you're looking at a footprint.
Right.
Right. So, it got really frustrating to me because I don't see any good evidence anymore. So, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because we have, like I said, we've always said we've got some of the smartest listeners out there that want to continuously come back here, and there's a reason why they continue to come back here because they get, we hope they get some good entertainment and some good information to boot every once in a while. We try to embolden a nugget of wisdom. Mick goes, if you're about to tell us that someone gave Sasquatch the dynamite, roll the tape. No, we rolled that tape the last show with the Sasquatch blowing the fire out with the anyway. So getting back, there was a lot of articles written 25 years ago by a lot of people that were scientists, by people who really spent a lot of time in the field and doing a lot of quiet research we don't hear about. And we've had, some people pass, like some of the works I'm going to is Tim Cullen. And Tim Cullen, I think, passed somewhere between 2000 and 2004, somewhere in there. And, he was one of my heroes in this field. One of these guys who've been doing it for a while. Alton Higgins was, he's I want to say he's an anthropologist. Another hero in my field, although he may not have I believe he's a doctor, has a doctorate. And, those were my heroes, man. And Dr. Henner Fahrenbach, who retired from this thing some 12 years ago. So a lot of the folks that have come in from, 2010 onward don't have the benefit of remembering these people. And some of the articles they wrote to guide, and people wonder why the old timers are so cranky, and why you're so cranky about all these stick structures and stuff, because that's stuff we never talked about, because you can't track it. Okay, stick structures. Are they Bigfoot? Who knows? Tree rakes? Who knows? We're jumping, and we're in such great demand to get evidence that we often forget that before all of this nonsense with social media, it would take time and hard work to get evidence. And what we've seen with social media, we've seen people shortcut that. Well, look at this. It's tree rake. Oh, something took my apple from the log. Oh, look, something left a rock over here. Stuff like that. And Sarah, yes, absolutely, you'll get there. Just give it time. So some of the stuff that came out was very interesting. And there's a UK researcher by the name of Tim London who was really well and great. But the one I really want to pull out to start off with is the Tim Cullen piece, I believe, if I can find it. Because I have in front of me this is Tim London's piece. And
I think I can remember reading some of Tim Cullen's work.
Yeah. Hang on. I want to find Tim's work first, because I think it's really important. And I'm sorry, everything got messed up here. So I'm trying to backtrack.
Well, what you were saying, I want to put something in here, what you were saying earlier about the tree structures, limb structures, whatever. And, there's nothing wrong with thinking that they could be related. But I think it would probably be, you could go a little further to infer that they're related if, like, you had a sighting of a creature and he was, like, in one when you saw it. So then you could go back and say, hey, this is kind of, the structure here may have been created by that creature. But if you're just walking along through the woods and you see some sticks that have fallen in a certain way, it's not very likely Bigfoot did that,
Yeah.
It's possible, but it's not likely.
Right. And Tim wrote this really great piece years ago. This piece came out in 2005, and part of it was also written by Rick Knoll, who's since retired from Bigfooting as well, and he was a big photography guy. And some of the stuff Tim writes. Let me give you some of because this stuff is stuff that is just indispensable, so people know. People know where I come from when I go out in the field, and people have always said, well, where do I get my notions from? Well, here's some of my heroes here talking, and here's the introducing to Sasquatch and Bigfoot sign. And he says, many times while traversing wilderness in areas that are home to wildlife, one will come upon tracks of various animals. This can be a fascinating observation, and sometimes after finding a track, more will be found and followed. A story sometimes unfolds concerning what the animal making tracks was doing at the time. Some travel the wilderness and see very little, if any, wildlife, and finding and observing these tracks can make the experience just as rewarding as seeing the animal itself. Okay, Dave, good to know. And hello, John. Good to see you.
Hey, Jonathan. Sarah.
Casting an animal track allows it to be documented, bringing the experience to others and showing them what you saw. Photograph of tracks will sometimes show it well, depending on the film, resolution, light, and the soil conditions, but doesn't really give it the life you saw, even in the best of circumstances. Depending on the angle photographed, a common stone removed from the ground can be made to appear as an animal track. Remember that. Photographs are good in documenting a track, but should be considered only half the process. So, the article goes in on how to make an animal a track. And so he talks about sign. For those of you living near states or provinces who have saltwater shorelines, information can be gathered from local government concerning the types and locations of low-tide shellfish. So he's talking about... so here it is. Some of the areas you want to go to. Obviously, all animals need water. Succulent type of vegetation grows nearest water sources. If this were a means for the animal to gain water intake rather than drinking it directly, it would be a good place to look for tracks. Most ground found near rivers and streams. This is where tracking and casting conditions exist. You can also use water from the stream or river from mixing plaster and subsequent cleanup. Good point. You can drag in, a half gallon of water, which is, almost, 3.5 pounds, 3 3/4 pounds, whatever. A gallon of water, I think at least 7.5 pounds.
Yeah.
You can lighten your load if you're going near water sources, because, you can use that water source to mix your plaster. Large grain sand isn't good for tracks, but in the same general area, smaller grain sand or even mud, silt, can be usually found. This fine soil can also be found in swampy or boggy areas. So, large grain sand, bad for casting. Small grain sand, silt, good for casting. Another thing, too, is teeth are sometimes washed down and in the same places where heavy metals, such as gold, would be located. They are called placer deposits. These areas have been mapped in gold territories and can be looked up in libraries. So, brush and other plants can grow close to the water's edge, thereby hiding tracks in the soil under their low canopy. Evidence can thus be missed, having the area appear to be devoid of an animal's occupation. So, to get in there, you want to, you need to, as they say, you need to beat that brush. You need to beat the brush to get there. And again, sound of water movement not only hides animal movement, but your own sounds as well. So, you can LiDAR scan a track, but nothing holds that fine evidence as the cast itself. And I know that no picture will tell the same tale as a cast, because I don't think you get the appreciation of the size of the creature with a cast versus a film. The other thing too is depth. And I know, you'll get a nice picture, but when you actually hold the cast and see that the foot is this thick or it was that deep into the substrate, that will again give you some idea of the size of the creature you're trying to look for.
Yeah.
Dusty climates can sometimes yield track results, but the best would be right after it rains. Snow can show long trackways, but usually leaves little track in detail. Absolutely. One of my biggest pet peeves is, and you've seen it, is snow melt. A lot of times during the winter, every winter I get at least somebody sends me one picture of a snowshoe hare. And what happens is that sun hits it. Even though it may be freezing cold outside, that sun still melts that snow, causing it to spread out, causing it to have some growth. So you need to be very aware of how fresh is this track, because snow melt will definitely hurt it. I'm trying to get some of the best points. Reasons for searching near rivers and streams and establishing study areas. And that's Tim. You want to establish study areas right. that you want to study.
Yep.
So all animals need water. I think we just read through that.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Okay, here we go. Traveling up the flow traveling with the upflow of a river or stream usually means you would be traveling upwind and may have your scent effectively screened from any animals further up. So if you're going to travel trying to screen any kind of scent from other critters, travel upstream. Start downstream, travel up. Establishing one or two study sites containing a river or stream would allow you to map it effectively, noting good tracking and soil conditions for periodic return visits. Foraging signs can be looked for and noted on return visits. The lay of the land can be thoroughly understood because you'll have those. You will have those landmarks.
Right.
One visit to a site doesn't mean anything. Animals move in and out of areas constantly. You don't want your return visits to be predictable. Animals have the ability to produce mental maps that put us humans to shame. So if they see you coming every weekend, that's when they will avoid the area. Trying to take on too big an area for study is as bad as gambling with your life savings in a casino. It may be fun, but chances are you will lose in the end. Optimum study site conditions. Historical events, not necessarily recent. And that's very true. I mean, 2013 got the FLIR footage, and that was on itself in an area that's been having sightings on and off since the 50s.
Yeah.
Nothing necessarily documented recently, but the 50s, the 80s, and I think there was one in the 90s, but continually hitting these there. Other optimum study site conditions: water source present, close proximity to controlled area excluding human activity such as watersheds. New intrusion into habitat zone. In other words, recent or current logging and housing and road development. So in other words, if something is building a housing development, or they're putting up a house or logging somewhere, that's a good area too, because that may stir them up to get them to move.
Right.
Food source availability understood and seasonal occurrence identified, and also flora and fauna, the plant life, the plant matter. So you need to know that area, when the blackberries are budding, or when the berries are budding, or the apples, or when the deer population moves back into that area. Shelter availability: large trees, heavy brush, caves, large boulders, etc. Again, these are great ideas. Like, okay, this should be, some ideas as you're going through an area. Well, that could be used as that. That could be used as that. Look at the food source.
That's it's a very smart research there. It really is.
Exactly. Some of the advice he uses is try to use green earth tone clothing. He mentions that great apes have a better much ability than humans to pick out patterns, colors that do not belong in their habitat.
Yeah.
So again, people ask, why the camo? Well, because we would pick out somebody wearing a bright red shirt.
Right.
But if you keep it to an earth tone or earth tones, you're less likely to, go, oh, what's that? Do not wear shiny metal objects or equipment, such as watches, pins, because they catch the light. Stow them in a pack or paint or tape with a darker color.
Makes sense.
Do not use scented deodorants or aftershaves. Primate olfactory ability is vastly more acute than humans. Move silently. And because the apes, in this case, he was a very firm believer that, Sasquatch is a primate, supporting more of the pongid idea, but even the human idea, the hominin idea, this is true to all primates. So primates do have unbelievable hearing. That's one of our strong sources of senses. Always observe from submissive posturing and body language. Include squatting, sitting, kneeling, and laying down. You don't want to square off against a Sasquatch. You want to be submissive. Squat down. Like I said, sitting, kneeling. Avoid gesture, aggressive postures, and body languages. These include standing, pointing with arms or hands, waving arms, walking towards, or running in any direction. And isn't that the truth? How many times that you start walking towards it, that's when they turn up. Avoid direct eye contact. Yeah. This gesture makes all primates, including people, very uncomfortable.
Perfect.
Yep. Great apes see direct eye contact as a challenge, and will usually flee immediately, even if you cannot see their eyes. Avoid looking. Merely glance toward the movement or a sound. To a great ape or even a Sasquatch, you appear to be staring at him, as the primate would be looking at you if the situation were reversed.
Right.
Obviously, if I see something staring at me coming towards me, what do you think's going to happen? I'm going to take a very aggressive posture.
That's right. My favorite technique: just act like you don't even see them. Look around.
Always observe indirectly. Tilt your head slightly down to a submissive tone, non-threatening pose, and watch with eyes askance. In case people don't know what askance is, it means.
That's right.
That's right.
They probably think I'm the blindest human to ever exist.
Yes. When observing a Sasquatch or a primate, keep some vegetation between you and the animal. Cover provides a great deal of psychological comfort for both you and the primate. If you observe a primate or a Sasquatch and it is aware of you and is looking at you, never look at the animal through binoculars. Binoculars may appear as large eyes and cause the unhabituated primate to flee. If you believe a Sasquatch is near you, but you cannot see it, be assured that the animal can see you and is aware of your location. Your best bet is to make an observation, is to become as non-threatening as possible in posture and behavior. So there's a great piece of advice. People wonder why the sit. Why sitting in camp is so important instead of beating the brush.
Right.
I beat the brush in the daytime. At nighttime, I sit, observe, be less of a threat.
Yeah.
Some of the things we've gotten, even myself, have gotten away from over the years. So these are all great points. It's extremely difficult to approach a non-feeding primate without it becoming aware of you first.
Yeah.
You are always better off anticipating the animal's movement by keeping still and silent and waiting for the animal to come within your visual range. So if you hear something you believe is a Sasquatch, you're better off just to stay put, silent, get in your non-submissive pose, and wait. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Genius. I love this guy.
Yep. It's basically impossible to track and overtake a fleeing Sasquatch.
Yeah.
For example, a chimpanzee and gorilla can flee 8 to 10 times faster than any person through heavy vegetation. It's pretty interesting to know.
Yeah.
So those are just some really great pointers.
Well, let's talk about something, Steve. I mean,
yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to approach one? Like if you saw a group or one individual standing there, why wouldn't you want to take off running towards him?
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, you'll force a reaction, right?
Yeah.
You're going to force that individual to do something.
Yep.
Now,
Nick also said Fishbone. Yep, that was him. Was an honest researcher. He definitely told it like it was. And he had he was one of my heroes. Really was. I really followed what he was doing, and some of this stuff made so much sense. And I managed actually talked to him via email many a day. So that was back in the early days, before social media. But yeah, again, like I said, when I had my encounter, I had the light on it, and it froze, and I froze. And I think the only reason why it moved is I moved the light. Okay, it's moving. Yeah. So I think I was actually kind of blinding it, and it couldn't really make out me because it's looking at the light, the bright light.
Right.
But then if that bright light moved, it took off.
Right.
And that is so important. If you see it, just freeze, don't move.
Yeah.
People say, get a camera. Well, you start fiddling with gear and stuff like that and pull out something and pull it up. It's going to go. It's going to see it later. You got to have that camera on the ready. That's why, sport cameras or GoPros and stuff like that are so quintessential now to have. That is one of the better inventions that have come out of technologies, or I should say, that have come out since we've all done this. If we all had an action camera going, as much as we all like to walk with it. I mean, back in the day, we used to walk with video cameras.
Yeah.
Now we can just go, and we're good to go.
My first camera was a little jazzy camera, about the size of a pack of cigarettes. And I think it was like 480p or something like that. Yeah. And I thought, oh, wow, man, I'm like high tech, dude. And we're talking like 2008. Something. So I thought, oh yeah, I'm high tech, man. But as it turned out, no, not so much.
So Joe Critelli writes, the cast with dermal ridges, length and breadth width can't be denied. I know there was Matt Crowley had said that some of the dermal ridges on the sides were due to, I don't know, the heat process of the casts. and there was some experimentation with that that actually proved that some of the thermal ridges could be caused by some of this heating effect that happens when you mix the plaster with water.
Yeah. As the plaster cures, that chemical reaction releases a heat.
Yes.
So it's almost impossible to cast snow.
Yeah.
You could possibly do it, but
I've seen
the
people do
plaster
it.
is going to take so long to dry, though. You're probably not going to get.
I believe the Bosberg Cripplefoot tracks were in snow.
They were. They were. Me and you talked about that in depth one time.
So yeah, and Mike Mick says that he could better. I could overtake a Sasquatch, but only if my ex was trying to get me to eat her meatloaf. Yep, I think we'd all be running right with you.
Oh, Mick.
So, the other interesting thing is Mike said, when batteries work.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, the GoPro battery's dead.
There's no worse feeling in the world to be looking at a Sasquatch through the lens of your camera and thinking to yourself, I've got it. Oh, this is going to be so good.
And all of a sudden you bleep, bleep, bleep. There goes the battery button.
Yeah. Sorry, last file not saved. That would be horrible. And I'm sure it's happened.
So, a couple of, and we'll talk in a little bit too about other things. People wonder what's going on. Well, I had this great plan of going out this October and hitting it really hard. Unfortunately, because of the back, I couldn't do it. So my there's a good question. And hello, as darkness looms, so does cryptogeology. Welcome to the show. Glad to see you here.
Yeah,
great question. Interesting topic circling tonight on Facebook groups. Can Bigfoot catch COVID? Interesting. I don't know. Hard to say.
Don't know.
Hard to say if they can catch the flu. I mean, we really don't know.
If it has jumped species from bat to human, I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't jump species from bat to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think. But,
any answer to that question would be purely opinionated.
Yes. Right.
I mean, I not being a doctor, I'm an investigator by profession.
Yeah.
So, not being a PhD, I don't know. That's a great question, though.
But we do know,
hey, folks,
the corona.
Folks, folks on Facebook and YouTube, you want to pop in comments. Can Bigfoot catch COVID? There's the question.
Yeah.
While you guys answer that question, I'm going to go behind me and get a piece of equipment.
Go ahead, man. I just want to mention that since the coronavirus, COVID-19 is a coronavirus, that's like one of the easiest ones to pop over, to cross over. So depending on the shape.
So I think that's really a great question. What's your opinion?
That is a good question.
And listen, do I think they can? In my opinion, probably. I mean, we ended up giving the Native Americans smallpox, but they were the same
species.
Same species. So really, that's not comparing. That's comparing apples to oranges.
But,
so I don't know, but I would think probably. I think some of the things that they may be immune to is maybe, some botulins and some food poisonings because of their diet. They've probably adapted evolutionary style to be able to eat things raw, because we've never seen them really use fire. Or cook meat or anything like that. So one would think that, or if they're like the mountain gorillas, and I don't think they're like the mountain gorillas, although gorillas are very large and they're vegetarians. So it's really hard to say.
That's something I've always thought, that when we do eventually get a type specimen, they're going to find out that I believe the Bigfoot gut is going to be much longer than a typical human. Because they're able to digest so much more roughage than what we are. It's speculation.
Yep. Let's get to some more What's your take on three-toed tracks like reported down south? Well, not all the tracks down south are three-toed. Pardon my vernacular. But I have doubts on the three-toed track because, number one, there isn't a single primate that has 3 toes, and number two, anatomically, it doesn't make sense to support a heavy creature walking upright with 3 toes. It does not support that.
Well, yeah, but we could be talking about a genetic deficiency too, and that is possible. That's seen in humans too. The bird people of where are they at?
But why do we only see that down south? See, to me, it could be some misidentification of something. I've been in the Honey Island swamps, and I've seen those 3-toed tracks of the so-called Honey Island swamp monster. And I'm not impressed at all that those three-toed tracks are necessarily that of a Sasquatch. There's a lot of cranes that walk around there. We've seen a blue heron actually go on a sand barge, and it left marvelously large 3-toed tracks. They could also be dew claws of gators as well.
Yes.
So that's
that would be a very good guess right there.
Yeah. So that's that's why I don't think that they're legitimate. Now, I'll tell you a story about Honey Island Swamp, the Honey Island Swamp Monster, while we're on that topic. I was down there in 2008, 2007, somewhere in there. And what I was told was that the sightings of the Sasquatch were actually north of the Honey Island Swamp. But you see, they wanted to keep people out of that area because there was a lot of things going on in those areas, like alcohol stills and this green stuff with the leaves that were growing up there. So they wanted to keep people out of that. So somebody created the Honey Island Swamp Monster to bring all those Bigfoot hunters down into the lower part of the swamp where, those operations are it's not good for those type of operations because of the terrain. Yeah. And I've been through the Honey Island swamps, and it is, wow, what a rough place. You want to talk about, it's backwoods, period. Yeah. No if and buts about it. I went there post Katrina. At that point, I think Katrina had been gone like 4 years, and I remember going through the swamps and looking up in a tree, and maybe a story up in a tree. There's a boat that got placed there because of the riot. That's how high the water was.
Right. Let me take a moment to correct myself, Steve, because I said the bird people, and I actually just did a quick search, and it's the ostrich people of Zimbabwe.
Interesting.
Rather than the bird people. It was my bad. The ostrich people of Zimbabwe. It's a small group of individuals that have 2 toes. And their feet, it kind of looks like an ostrich, And so that is a genetic deficiency because of their small gene pool they have there. So the same thing could have happened. It's possible, but is it likely? Probably not.
So here's another interesting catch here. Cameron says the difference between 1967 and 2020 is I ran out of film versus I ran out of battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
That's good.
Man, that's good. Mick says it would be beneficial to have a type specimen, allow it to study. Absolutely. Let me go back down to the new comments. And Bruce Kelly has a good one, too. And his comment actually covers everybody, or most of everybody. Science has already shown that great apes are susceptible to human respiratory infections, such as human rhinovirus C, one virus that can cause the common cold. Because many apes in this group, which include chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, and gorillas, are already endangered, experts are concerned that COVID-19 could devastate populations. Now, that's a very good point.
Yeah, it is.
So, as darkness looms, I hope that kind of, if they're able to catch COVID, the other types of primates and the common cold, my guess is that a Sasquatch can, catch COVID. So if you run into a Sasquatch, please put your mask on.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Sergeant Luna, up in New Hampshire, it's hard to find tracks. Yes, we have the same terrain in the Adirondacks, much of our tree structures in the late regions of New Hampshire. Yep. So people wonder, I do have an action, I do now have like a GoPro knockoff that I'm using, that I will be wearing when I go into the field. The other new toy that I've been playing with, and this is for more distance watching, is this bad boy right here. And that is a really decent pair of NVG binoculars. And I've played with them for a little bit and tested them out a little bit. I'm still testing it. It takes video. It's got a built-in card. It takes pictures. So when I'm looking, the video will be on.
It looks promising.
Yeah,
I've seen images. It looks promising.
Mm-hmm. Considering that, I probably can, it supposedly has a range of 160 yards. I don't have a 160 yard stretch around the house right now because I do have vegetation. But I can tell you, very interestingly, through the binoculars, I can clearly see the neighbor's cars, and the neighbor lives about 100 yards, 75 yards, to my east. So definitely it has potential to do that. The other toy I will be getting a new type of thermal imager. But like I say, that I like the night vision. It's a digital night vision, so you don't get the green. It's just yes, John. Yes, the binoculars do have an image stabilizer. In fact, what I plan on doing, and the cool thing about this sucker, it's not light, by the way. It's pretty heavy. It's a good piece of machinery. It has 3 different levels of illumination. This one is a Creative XP. It's waterproof. It's water resistant. It's right here is where all the connections are. I can download it either through USB, or I can pull the card on it, or I can actually hook it up. What I like about it, it does have a jack for an AV, so if I have a mini USB to an HDMI, I can actually plug it into a bigger screen.
Oh, yeah.
The other cool thing, too, is it has a tripod mount there, so I can actually tripod mount that sucker and just keep it going. And it comes with I got it on Prime Day, so I got it for a discount. And it came with a 32 gigabyte mini SD card, which gives it about 5.5 hours of record time. So it takes 8 AA batteries. Of course, I use the rechargeables in it. So we'll see. We're going to field test the hell out of that this upcoming year. And at the rate the weather's been going, if my back can straighten out, I may have a little bit of a November to play with yet. So, definitely some. Yes, Amazon was purchased on Amazon. Who did I get that from? Yeah, Creative XP. And I'll pull the book out just so folks, if they're interested in looking at that sucker, it's a Creative XP.
Well, maybe
the Glass Owl full night vision binoculars.
Could you put like a link in the comment section or something? Or
not right now.
No, after the show, so you might we can see what you got.
Yeah. The other thing I got was the GoPro. I got a knockoff. I didn't get the GoPro. $300 for the GoPro. Like $65 for the knockoff camera. And still, I've tested that and it works just fine for video. Audio isn't that great. I can live without the audio. It's the video that I really want to catch. But the video is pretty damn good. And I usually keep it at 1080 instead of the 4K. Because the 4K tends to get a little persnickety, the file size and everything. So, very.
I brought some GoPro knockoff. Actually, they were advertised as GoPros, but they were knockoffs, as it turned out, from Wish. I think it was a couple of years ago. And when I got those things here, and I turned them on and took some video. It was terrible, man. I mean, it was like my little jazzy camcorder, that pocket camcorder. It was horrible. But from a couple of years ago to now, may have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, well, mine didn't come from Wish. But
That's the first plus.
yep, people like thermal. Thermal's good for making things stand out. So I think thermal has a great a great use as a tool.
Yeah.
I think with the night vision you can collect better evidence with night vision than you can with a thermal. So one shall see. Another great article, another big hero of mine was Henner Fahrenbach. And Henner, we've talked about Henner before, and some of the interesting things that Henner has said about a Sasquatch. And these are all things. And the reason why this is such important stuff is to keep in mind when you go out what you are looking for.
Yeah.
Why setting up a few apples and stuff on a log, and it's gone the next day. A Bigfoot grabbed it. Thank you, David. I gotta say, David, too, my audio does not work on this, so I do not think there's audio on that, unless I'm missing something somewhere, unless mine's defective. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily need audio for that. I don't see any microphone necessarily on the unit, as far as I can see. I haven't gotten any audio off the videos that I have. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going on there with that. And even in the documentation, I didn't see anything for audio settings. So I don't know if it... But David, you hit the product. Its field of vision, as far as the width, is not the greatest. That much I've noticed. But that sucker can penetrate. And like I said, at a distance, it's great. Oh, man. Really?
Always words of wisdom. Read the manual.
David, I love you, man. All right, you got me there. I didn't read well, I read the manual of the program to get the time and stuff in there, but
I like a quick start kind of thing,
Yeah, I like those quick start things.
You get this whole big thick manual, like 50 pages or 150 pages, and then you got one little sheet of paper that says, push on button, start filming.
Chris, I'm gonna do a Jeff Foxworthy thing right now. I believe that if you have 50,000 boxes out in front of your house that say night vision or thermal on it, you're a Bigfoot researcher.
Oh. Steve, I could understand you perfectly when you talk like that. That's really, you sound much better. You should talk like that all the time.
Yeah, that's true. No, Emmanuel's not. Actually, good question. But one of the reasons why I bought this was because they're actually a New York-based company. So that's why I bought it. They're a New York-based family company.
Good.
So, there we go, Pat, with thermal from the air, 1,000% more efficient. Well, when we have a thermal from the air, then I will say that may be true. But so far, we have exactly that, nothing.
Yeah.
So, and again, thermal, is not going to prove anything to anybody. Not to the scientists, we know that. It's cool to have, but to me, the thermals are good tactical equipment or equipment to rule out things. So let's talk about some of the things of our Sasquatch that Henner Fahrenbach did a huge statistical study. And he said the weight of the animal can be used to predict its basal Metabolic rate, meaning its minimal daily caloric requirement by a mathematical relationship, Khyber's law, that is an extremely tight one. Application of this rule suggests 5,000 calories for the average Sasquatch as defined by the statistics. With exercise and inclement weather, this value can double or triple. Hence, a diet that is minimally omnivorous, if not slanted toward carnivory, is required to fulfill that demand.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting piece of thing. So 5,000 calories, and that's based on that. And he has the statistical information from using a lot of John Green stuff.
Yeah. And something about calorie intake that a lot of people may not realize is the way we live now. It's like, I could eat a candy bar and there's 600 calories, whatever. And it's really easy. But if you're out in the wilderness and you're like scavenging for food, it's very difficult to come up with 5,000 calories worth of meal. That's why if you've ever watched these shows like Alone, where they drop these people off in the middle of nowhere and they got to survive, and they might start out kind of chubby, but they all end up kind of bony.
Yeah.
Even the ones that are like catching fish regularly.
Yep.
Are getting skinny and losing weight because they're not getting all those extra calories from fat and stuff that we normally get every day. And we don't even think about it. I mean, man, you go to the refrigerator and, grab some ice cream or whatever.
Let me, this is no offense to Pat. I hope, Pat, you don't take offense to this. But for the last 15 years, we've heard about thermal footage from a drone or from a blimp, and nothing has come of it. Just disappointment. So, I'm sorry, there was something years ago called the Falcon Project. And I remember we talked about the Falcon Project in 2007. And then we had a revisit to it in 2010 or 2011. Yeah. And then, boom, it went belly up.
Yeah.
And
actually, I thought it had merit. I thought it was really, a good idea, but evidently the costs outweighed the benefit.
5,000 calories. What about a deer? I don't know how many calories. Yeah, deer liver would definitely be very rich.
That would be a lot. Yeah.
That's why Dr. Fahrenbach said there that, if not slanted toward carnivory, which means it's slanted toward a Sasquatch actually being, omnivorous or carnivorous. I believe they're omnivorous. I'm sure they eat. Most animals, I mean, even a dog will eat, leafy stuff when their stomachs get upset. If they eat too much meat, they eat plant matter. That's why sometimes dogs eat grass, because their stomach is bothering them. They need that roughage to help clean out their digestive tracts.
But even an animal that was mostly vegetarian would switch to the meat.
So, as Darkness Looms asks, what about a deer? So, the next paragraph, I will provide here some comparison data of prey food values. Internal organs would yield 12,000 to 35,000 calories for white-tailed deer, 20,000 to 50,000 calories for mule deer, and 60,000 to 90,000 for elk. These values would dramatically rise about 3,500 calories per pound with the inclusion of stores around the body cavity. Reports exist for all of these species being preyed upon by Sasquatch. The initial selectivity for soft internal organs may have its root partly in their nutritive value and partly in their friable nature, which is more easily dealt with by the flat molars of a primate. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why do they take the organs? They take the organs because they're softer. They're more malleable for teeth, not canine teeth.
Yeah.
Not teeth like a cat or a canine or a bear or even a hog, but teeth like a primate. Flat molars. So that makes a lot of sense. And like I said, that's science. That is science. Possible retention of the carcass would ripen the meat, soften its texture, and allow for hypothetical winter storage and contribute to the often noted rotten meat aroma of a Sasquatch at close range. Interesting. Interesting. Formula for the average daily food intake by omnivore suggests a needed weight of about 35 pounds of a mixed diet for an average Sasquatch. So, very, very interesting story. Finally, brain size. Scaling body weight to brain size in primates has been pursued by numerous authors. Application of this formula leads to a predicted brain volume of about 770 cc's compared to that of the mountain gorilla of 530 cc's, with a range from 420 to 685 cc's. Large brain. In the absence of any reports of cultural traits or fire use, very minimal and primitive tool use, and inferred low sociability of the Sasquatch, we are reduced to conjectures regarding their need to remember their large home range. So, okay, interesting. This stuff is so rooted in science. That's what really got me, to these guys when I started reading them. I go, this is what you need to learn.
Good stuff.
The often reported prodigious upper body strength of the Sasquatch can be properly viewed in the light of human weightlifters, in whom lifting ability rises as the two-third power of their weight. If one uses the pertinent formula for the maximum human weightlifting ability, extrapolated to the weight of the average Sasquatch, it yields a minimum of 1,300 pounds. The build of a Sasquatch, in parallel with that of the great apes, indicates muscle insertions more distal to the joints, with an attendant rise in the mechanical lever arm. This factor, together with presumptive larger muscle cross-sections, suggests that the real capability is apt to be much greater than that of man. Their reported ability to pick up and carry and throw a full 50-gallon drum of diesel fuel, 450 pounds, tip over a commercial trailer, or throw a basketball-sized rocks in a high arc to discourage intruders seems not unreasonable in this light.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there he's looking at the strength. Are some of these things out of order?
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to get in a fist fight with one.
No.
No. Now we're talking about plantar pressure. If one refers to the preceding table of calculated weights and foot lengths, one could extrapolate plantar pressure for feet of different sized individuals. It has been pointed out that compressive strength of cartilage has certain inherent limits that can only be exceeded at risk of health and joint integrity of the animal in question. Additionally, compression of the sole beyond the limits of tissue pressure would collapse capillaries and eventually lead to tissue breakdown. Since any animal is likely to be optimally adapted to its weight, support, and gait configuration, even a Sasquatch would adhere to such general rules of body design.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then he goes into all these numbers of plantar comparison. But then he goes into foot anatomy, and this is all conjecture of a scientist who studied the statistics of things, right, including other sciences. The sole of Sasquatch foot is probably several inches thick, as revealed by a small rock that was found to have deeply indented a sole. Usually the foot shows no wrinkles or folds, though occasionally scars. The thick sole pad in man, a tough connective tissue lattice filled with fat, presumably serves to distribute weight on the sole in a much more even fashion than is the case of man. In any case, contrary to popular belief, plantar pressure even in large Sasquatches does not appear to range exorbitantly beyond human values, as one would reasonably expect from anatomical considerations. That's interesting.
Well, that's one of the things I didn't necessarily agree with either, Steve, because I don't think the tracks he was judging that with were made by actual Sasquatch foot. I think those were made by wooden stompers.
Well, and then that's interesting because he used a lot of John Green stuff to come up with those numbers.
Yeah.
And we've always said those Blue Ridge Mountain photos look awfully like Ray Wallace's stompers. And Ray Wallace, for those who don't know, was the guy who passed away in 2004, where his family went into his garage and found these wooden stompers.
Right.
And the interesting thing, he was like the boss of Jerry Crew,
Right.
but the stompers look nothing like the Jerry Crew tracks.
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, those stompers, they were carved wood. So if Wallace was wearing those and he stepped on a rock, and then the chances are that rock could have embedded in that wood, and then that he left subsequent stamp. But that was the only thing that I had. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, though.
Yeah, exactly. Growth and life cycle. He starts talking about growth and life cycle. And this is all based on his statistical study.
Right.
And he used that to see if, originally he used the bell curve, the study to see if a bell curve would emerge. And if it was a bell curve, that would point to a legitimate species existing, because they would range in a bell curve of all what they've seen. There are extremes in one way or the other, and they're the same with, us humans. So, I think that, it's very pertinent that it came out in a bell curve. It wasn't all over the map like something fake would be.
Right.
So, since all the data, almost all of the data presented here are gender neutral, it is next to impossible. And actually, that's kind of funny. He used that term, gender neutral.
That's right, before the time.
Before its time. It is not impossible to extract values for presumptive sexual dimorphism. Beyond that, we have no idea of the age of any animal that has been cited beyond comparing a juvenile one to the age of the corresponding children. Here I have endeavored to apply what minimal data we have to estimate age in a growth curve. In the case of the female of the species, I should emphasize that this curve is predicated on the growth of the feet rather than general somatic dimensions, which would follow a different curve. So he talks about infancy. So
I'm gonna go off camera for a second here, Steve. I'm gonna step over and grab a ski out of the fridge.
Okay, you
right
go
there.
do that. Yep. So in doing this, he spoke about saying that I have taken the foot lengths of human neonates and mountain gorilla newborns as a starting point, about 3.5 inches for a Sasquatch, the smallest 4 to 5 inches long. The length corresponds to the mean of the human foot at 1 year, which is the age I have arbitrarily assigned to these prints, although walking is probably initiated earlier than man. So, very interesting stuff there. Adulthood. To the opposite high endpoint of the graph, I have collected all records consisting of a single large set of prints accompanied by one set of baby footprints smaller than 7 inches, on the assumption that the mother, by implication a mature, no longer growing female, is most likely the exclusive adult companion of a juvenile for the first 3 years of its life. The largest footprints of the presumptive female, accompanied by an infant, have measured 18.5 inches. So, and this is all off of data and citing reports that have been, incredibly researched over the years. Way years before social media. We're probably talking about reports from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So all of this stuff is very well dated. And that's why it's so damn important to go back to this type of information. So there's a lot more on footprints. He talks about nocturnality. This is something that's very interesting. The nocturnality of the Sasquatch has been questioned on occasion. This trait can be considered from a statistical standpoint. Take a hypothetical area random seeded with Sasquatches evenly distributed during day and night. Their apparent temporal distribution will depend on them being seen by human observers. Assume a very conservative ratio of such alert observers during daylight. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we have all these numbers. So what he's saying is that the ratios are showing that it leans toward, even though they've been seen less at night than in the daytime, we are more prevalent in the daytime than we are at nighttime. So using the ratios, it would appear that the ratio shifts to 58% in favor of night sightings. So...
Well, see, all my sightings have occurred during the day where I could actually see them. And at nighttime, that's the only time I've had
sightings of eye shine, which that's all I could get. Eye shine, what were those eyes connected to? I really didn't get a good look. You could figure out about how high off the ground they were and stuff, but you really couldn't see what they were connected to. So I believe, I'm a firm believer that they're maybe not as active during the day, but there are still places in their areas that there will be active.
Right. Here's another interesting note, too, is change in coat color with age. A suspected gradual darkening in hair color with adulthood was explored and not confirmed by the database, which means he couldn't tell, basically, which produces identical height averages for coat colors grouped from dark through medium to light. Some tendency toward a geographical decline in coat color. Lightning in higher altitudes has been suggested in the literature with limited data. So that is very interesting stuff.
Yeah, the coat color has always caught my attention too.
And like I say, this is science that's not really out there too much. If you poke around, you probably can find some of it. But, even the site that I had gotten this off of, the owner has passed away. So, like I said, this is stuff that's why many years ago I printed these and put them in sheet protectors, because this stuff is part of what I call my Bigfoot Bible. So if I have questions about stuff where I need to go back and refer, not only do I have books by Krantz and Meldrum, but if I have to refer back to some information, I always look at my Henner Fahrenbach stuff. If I have questions about tracking, I always look at my Tim Cohen stuff. And, I don't know everything. And people ask me sometimes a question that I have no clue, and I have to go to my reference material to look at. So that's why I built myself a pretty awesome reference set a long time ago.
Where are Grover Krantz's bones now? Are they at the Smithsonian? Or
that is correct, as is his dogs. Yep.
All right. That's in D.C., isn't it? I gotta go see him one of these days.
Hi, Grover. I don't think he's going to say hi back.
No, he's not.
He says he's hi back. Oh my God, zombies!
Okay. He's at the Smithsonian. Yes.
Okay, so he did another little interesting thing on Dr. Wolfhanner Fahrenbach. In 1997, he wrote a piece about Sasquatch smell and aroma. Oh snap, Steve Coles, there are two of them. One Bigfoot cloaking for sure then. That's right. The cloaking Bigfoot. Oh, by the way, you didn't see I'm sitting next to a Bigfoot tonight. It's cloaked. Really. I was going to avoid a political comment tonight, but this one kind of got me. We've talked about Dr. Matt Johnson, and I think it was like the last week of October, Dr. Johnson released something in his group that basically said, Zorth says Donald Trump's going to win.
Oh, Zorth.
You can't make up this stuff. Oh, Mixing Krantz's bones are in the lower level in the kids section.
Oh my God.
Well, there's a flipping happy sight. Well, and we are doing well, OT. Good to see you back, brother.
Hi, OT.
So, what Henner wrote about Sasquatch smell is only about 10% or so of Sasquatch sightings are connected with a strong smell. That's according to John Green. On some occasions, however, the smell has been reported to be unbearable, overpowering, akin to being wrapped in dirty diapers. Yeah, it's pretty close. There are persistent suggestions that the smell is turned on demand. An illuminating observation comes from the mountain gorilla, as recorded by Diane Fossey. She describes males as producing an overpowering, gagging fear odor, either when fleeing from enemies, such as poachers with dogs, or else in confrontational encounters with other males. The smell is intense at a distance of 80 feet, coincidentally accompanied by discharge of diarrheic stool as human gorilla observers are known to have emulated when charged by a male gorilla. Very, very slick way of a joke there. It can be justly surmised that Dian Fossey was used to rather intense primate aromas after months in the jungle. George Schaller describes the odor as a mixture of sweat, manure, charred wood, and burning rubber. The origin of the odor appears to be in the axillary organ, a mass of apocrine sweat glands many layers deep in the armpit. A marginal comment in a gorilla autopsy report comments on one gland smelling and the other not, an indication of neutral control over the discharge. That's very interesting.
Well, that's something that I hadn't quite ever understood, really, and maybe we will someday, but why some sightings are associated with a very strong odor, and some sightings are maybe no odor at all.
Here's something interesting. The sense of smell in a Sasquatch, in keeping with that of other higher primates, is apt to be no better than of man being unperturbed by smoking or other injuries. The gorilla parallel consists of Dian Fossey climbing a tree with a juvenile gorilla, experimentally introduced into a troop and rescued by her while being maltreated. The enraged alpha male circled the tree, repeatedly failing bullets without detecting him by his smell. Repeated reports of people feeling like they are being obvious cause may be conceivable due to a hormonal component of Sasquatch sweat perceived below conscious level, although it elicits an immediate emotional response. As such, it would be true to example of the releaser of pheromone, a substance that produces a neural response in minute quantities, in one that has not been experimentally demonstrated in man. Such a response would be independent of any reported aroma of any sort. Other demonstrated effects of pheromones in humans have been designed as primers, signals, and modulators. Okay. So I thought it was going to cause a fear response, but it really all... So, what do I think of the cloaking Yowie photo? I don't.
I don't think I've seen that one.
No.
Is it on YouTube?
I don't know.
Cloaking Yowie.
Cloaking Yowie.
Now, I have seen some videos on YouTube where people had reportedly taken of these cloaking Sasquatch, and to me, it just looks like nonsense.
Yeah, well, you know.
That's me.
You know, back to basics.
Yeah.
If Sasquatch cloaks, why do we see them at all? You know, that would be the photo from the 30s. Well, probably some misinterpretation there, I guess. But anywho,
people love Photoshop. They really,
Photoshop is rampant. Look at that one with the dead bear. You know.
Yeah, that was a good one. And the Civil War guys with the pterodactyl.
Yeah, that was pterodactyl. Cool. That's another one. That actually may be a rather newer one. Just hello, Ron. Good to see you.
Hey, Ron. There's more too, you know.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see who wrote this particular article. This is also part of some of the stuff that I've got tons of. I think this is going to be... this is unsourced, but I believe I got it from the same grouping of... But very interesting commonalities.
Well, you know, the discussion about that smell, though, that is something that is really perplexing. And I have experienced that exact thing. I've had a sighting where the smell would gag you. I mean, to the point of you're getting ready to spill your lunch, okay? And I've had sightings that had no odor whatsoever.
But in all fairness, though, I cannot recall if the wind direction was the same each time. It may have been, they may smell like that all the time. And just when I had another sighting with no odor, the wind maybe had been blowing toward the creature away from me where I couldn't pick up that odor. But, that there's many reports will report an odor. And there's many reports that said, didn't smell anything. So it's really odd.
I'm just watching. I've never seen Quick Witty in here before. And no, I doubt it's the best Bigfoot photo ever. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah,
well,
I don't even have to look at it, and I'm pretty sure it's not the best Bigfoot photo ever.
If it's one you've taken yourself, it's always the best thing since the Patterson-Gimlin film.
What is this guy, 150 years old? He said it was from 1930.
Well, no, he probably didn't take that one.
No, probably.
But, that's true, though. If you take one yourself, you're like, oh, my God, this is great. But, when you show somebody, they're going to be like,
what is it?
What's that blob squatch? That's... Are this leaves or is that a stump? What is that?
That is the way.
Yeah.
That is the way.
Speaking of, you've been watching that lately? The Mandalorian?
I have.
Yeah, it's back on Disney again.
It has. Boy, that episode last week caused an uproar amongst the internet.
Oh, I watched it. I thought it was pretty. I didn't see anything controversial about it.
Well, the internet went crazy because Baby Yoda was eating all the eggs.
Oh.
He was not being an innocent little twerp.
Yeah.
He was.
Well, he was hungry. I mean, food source.
Yeah. So Dave Winter checked out our photo.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Yeah. We appreciate your effort. David, maybe perhaps we'd like to get you on the show sometime. That would be awesome to have David. David's a very knowledgeable guy, and it would be fun to have him on the show. If he's up for it,
Ron's got a good comment. Put Ron's comment up. Says a primatologist explained to me that certain primates emit an odor when they feel threatened.
Yep.
Or their territories being invaded.
Yep.
Yeah, invaded.
We just read Dr. Krantz's summation on that, too. So, I remember when I got the Fordan cast. And I remember doing these vocalizations and whatever we were doing there, tree knocking vocalizations, doing whatever. And then something moved. I remember hearing that, and that smell just bang, there it was, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And just as quick as it was there, it was gone, and never to return.
Yeah.
And that's what it made it so interesting. I mean, it would be something to say, okay, I got this track, and I know the track wasn't there before. It was fresh. We heard something. But we had, the scan before we went there, and then, okay, there's a track. But not only that, but we heard it. And then not only we heard it, we smelt it. And the smell came and went with the noise of the movement.
Right.
Now, somebody tried to say, oh, well, maybe it was a bear. Well, I don't know. Where I was, I haven't seen a bear in 20 years. Maybe a little further to the north by about a mile or so. But, yes, like a green fog. That was worse than my Uncle Louie on Thanksgiving. We all went, Uncle Louie went to the bathroom. Thank God.
Yeah. If anybody has not smelled one, believe me, it's not something that you want to look forward to.
Not at all.
It's definitely a sickening, nauseous odor.
Yeah. It was really hard to say because it moved, I would say, north of us, and we were south of it. Yeah. So it moved going from the west to the east, roughly in an arc around us, traveling west. So I don't know what Quick Witty's trying to do here. So anyway, yeah, I don't know if it's just their natural stink or if it's something of an apocrine gland, like or some kind of olfactory weapon. I don't think. I really don't think that we threatened it much, but I don't know, maybe because we upset it or something, it kicked up that smell. Yeah, I mean, and then the next day we came back, found the trackway, which was amazing too. We actually tracked it for quite a distance to a stream, and then we kind of lost it in the stream. So, very, very interesting thing. And that was really cool. I had, at the time, I think we tracked it. I think, I know Bill Brand was with me. Frank Cicienski was with me. I think Brian Goslin even might have been with me when we did that too. Just an amazing set of circumstances. And it was just like one of those things like, wow, finally got a cast, and we have all this other, circumstantial evidence around it to say, hey, there it is. And you're right, Ron. He says it could be another distractive tool. That's very true. Could it have another one been out there and it was trying to draw us away from it? I don't know. It didn't. We found the track. Then we went back, got the plaster, came back, and we did the track. So it didn't really shoo us away. I don't think that was its intention. And that's the same area where the same year that when we did the Monster Quest, that the nuts or the acorns or the rocks were being thrown at a couple of the Nesra members that were staked out very close to that hill. They were at the base of the hill where the thing had walked by. So that was also very interesting as well. So
there's some guys in the chat talking about smell and what the humans would smell like if they spent a week in the wild. And that's true. We would smell completely different than we do, now.
Oh, yeah.
But deer hunters have been capitalizing on this for years. Now, the great deer hunters, the ones that are really serious about it, they buy this product, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. There's a couple of things you get. You can get it's a laundry detergent. When you wash your clothes in it, it neutralizes all odors. And when you pull the clothes from the washer or the dryer or whatever, they smell like fresh dirt. And you can get soap for when you take your shower. And when you soap up, lather up real good. When you get done, you get all the human smells off of it. And sure enough, you smell like dirt. And so that is an option to use if you're going to be doing some serious researching where you don't want to be found out by your odor. Just use the stuff that makes you smell like dirt.
Smell like a pack of wild Yetis.
David said, I smell like cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, here's the kicker. You have to understand that a Sasquatch is naturally curious. So if they're going to smell something, they're going to check it out. You make a noise, they're going to check it out. That's the primate mentality. They hear a boom. All the little the four-legged animals run the other way. All the two-legged animals go, well, what was that? They want to see what's the cause of the disturbances.
Yeah.
So that's,
at one point in time, I thought I had all this figured out with take a ghillie suit, and I'd put the ghillie suit on and smelling like dirt, and I would go out in the woods, sit down by a tree, and just sit there and listen and wait. And the only thing really that ever came out of that research is I got scared myself once because there was a turkey that walked up behind me, and I thought it was bipedal movement. I thought, there's one right behind me.
Well, it was bipedal. It was a bipedal turkey.
It was a turkey. Yeah, it was a turkey. Scared me to death. So
yeah.
Thought I was had.
Well, that's very interesting. What I smelled was burning like ammonia and death. And that to me indicates that there may have been urine involved with that one. Because, if you've ever smelled some cats that are on some bad diets, they smell like pure ammonia when they pee. So yes, urine can, especially high pH urine, can get very ammonia-like. So perhaps it was a Sasquatch that was eating something rather acidic. And there's a question for you, Dave, is the area, is it prone to having some acidic type of vegetation or fruit that may have caused that urine to smell that bad? Or maybe they just bad.
Yeah. And Mick, that's a good point. Some hardcore hunters will douse themselves with doe urine. And, even more hardcore than that, some of them will gargle with it. This is true. They will gargle with it. So when they breathe out, they're not emitting, anything that... that'd make a good Listerine commercial. And then gargle with doe urine.
Yes.
Can we have somebody on the show that will admit to have done that? Can we?
No. Absolutely not.
Well, I don't think we'll ever find anybody. Nobody will ever admit that. I wouldn't admit it.
And that is very true. They, some people, he said, I knew a guy who observed squatches by using old used horse blanket. So
that makes sense. Yeah. That's interesting.
And OT is they're going to try that. Yes, you let us know, OT, how that works out.
I wouldn't recommend it. Gargle with doe urine.
I don't think I want to drink this now.
It looks too close, doesn't it? What is that, peach and apple?
No, that's like an orange energy drink. That doesn't even look good.
No, it doesn't.
We
got to get off the subject.
I'm going to drink my coffee.
But, this stuff, that does make sense. I mean, yes, people have doused themselves with doe urine, and, it does kill the human smell. Plus, you know why they're doing it. They're baiting Mr. Buck to come in. He smells romance. And
I agree with you 100% there, David. They already know you're their enemy. Why go to lengths to try to hide? It's just commonly done.
Yeah.
And, and you know what? The funny thing is there have been reports of, people hearing laughter, like this funny kind of laugh with Sasquatch. I wonder if we do things that are funny to the Sasquatch. I think they just look at us from a distance and laugh because, hey, look, they have no hair. Especially people like me and you, Chris. You're right, David. Why go through all that? They know you're there anyway. I guess if you want to try to sneak on one, and cover yourself with a horse blanket or whatever and sit there for a couple of days making very minimal movements with some food there, you may have some luck. You'll definitely see some other wildlife for sure.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. I've set out in the woods, not for days, but for a whole day at a time. And I could see squirrels and rabbits and, you can be surprised what just strolls right by you. But I never saw what I was looking for.
And Ron even said, you have to know the rest of the story why you use the horse blanket. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
David, just go out there dressed like Elton John or Liberace. Give him something really good to laugh at.
Well,
go out there in a marching band uniform. No.
Well, that's the thing. I think the more noise you make, the more apt you are to have a sighting. If you try to hide from one and sneak up on them, you're going to fail. Yep. But if you go out there with, the first sighting I had locally here was with my, 5-year-old kid. And he was making the awfulest rackets, you could imagine, screaming, running, laughing. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, there's no way I'm ever going to see anything here because, if there was anything here, from 10 miles away could hear this kid.
Well, you may have had the secret ingredient there, bringing a child with you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You know,
Use
they heard
the
the child.
proper
That's
bait.
something they know. That's animals have that instinct, or
Right.
even people. We know when we see a baby animal, what's the first? We're drawn to it.
Right.
You see a baby rabbit, you see a baby alligator, we're drawn to it. Even, even young of another species or another, a class of animal, we are drawn to it, to help it, to aid it, to assist it, or to observe it. So yeah, absolutely, that could be exactly why you had the reaction you did. Yeah, they David, they don't munch on they're probably munching on acorns.
Yeah, that's their popcorn, maybe. I don't know.
Or pine cones or something. I don't know. Or maybe just picking up, liver bits.
Well, it's hard for me to judge other areas of the country, but in Kentucky, we have a lot of hardwood trees. We have a lot of nuts trees. We have hickory.
I thought you were going to say we have a lot of nuts.
We do that too, but a hickory nut, which in local terms is called a hicker nut. Okay, they're all over a scaly bark tree. They're all over the forest. Of course, then you got your the other nuts that like walnuts and nobody really eats acorns around here, but hickory nuts and walnuts and stuff, yeah, definitely. And there are, in some cases, you will find a lot of wild pecans, but those are not really as popular as the rest. I could easily walk 5 minutes.
Is that how they say that in the South?
What's that?
Pecans.
Yeah, pecan.
Okay.
Or you could say pecans. Some of them say pecans.
That's what we say in the North. We say pecans.
You could pecan pie or some pecan pie. But, where I'm here, I'm just out of town. And
hey, you were talking about the deer urine early. You know where you keep that? In the pecan. It all comes full circle, people. All comes full circle.
Oh, that's terrible. Don't
quit my day job.
There's a lot of nuts out there, so you would think that would be one.
Yes, you can find them over there in Zorthland.
That would be one food source that they would use. If they don't use it, there's something odd about it because their nuts are rich in protein, and there are quite a few calories. If you don't have to expend that many calories to get the break the shell of the nut, then you got a surplus there. The problem is with humans, we have to have things like pliers and hammers and stuff like that to break open a hickory nut. But I'm sure if you're strong enough,
we say pecans.
Pocket. Well, we say pecans here.
Ron says pecans.
Yeah.
Con. I'll do it. Pecan.
Con.
Anyway, oh God, this show has digressed as usually it does.
Sorry,
late in the evening.
Well, I keep bringing up nuts.
Well, there's a lot of nuts in the Bigfoot world.
This is true.
Yeah. So I think we can wrap up our discussion tonight because I don't think we have time to get into another topic necessarily and discuss it fully.
Yeah,
but we've had one hell of a great time, man. Yeah, we're down to the last 17 minutes. But if anybody wants to bring up anything, go right ahead. Other than a cloaking Sasquatch.
Hey, it's getting close to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we should have some more pecan pie somewhere. But I don't know if we're going to have very many family gatherings in Kentucky. And that's probably going to be the same way across the United States because of the way this dang COVID stuff is doing now. But Squatches in Texas love pecans. Oh,
hey,
yeah,
sure.
Makes sense.
Do they grow pecans in Texas?
Oh, do they?
And New Mexico. I mean, I was
I
surprised.
don't know. I never thought about that. Ron Bowles makes up. You also have persimmons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I got a persimmon, right in front of my house, right in front of the office, on the other side, right out there. And one day I'm out there. I go out to have a smoke out there, and I turn to my right, and just sitting there eating. There's a deer.
Yeah.
Like 10 feet from me. I'm like, oh. I look at it, I'm like, good morning.
Oh, yeah, they love them. Don't eat a green one. The green one, oh, my God.
I don't eat any of them.
Oh, well, persimmons are good. Not the green ones. Just like they're.
Yeah, but you don't see what my dog does to that tree.
Oh, Lord. There's some other wild foods that grow around here too that are not real commonly eaten by humans, anymore. I can't think of one. It's like a wild banana, and I can't think of the name of it. Crap!
Plantain?
No. After the show, it'll come to me. But normally bananas and stuff like that won't grow in Kentucky. We don't have the climate for it. But there's another plant that it's not really that common anymore. That the fruit from it tastes like a banana. It's really good. But the name has eluded me.
Time. I don't have a beef with the Reverend Jeff. So.
Ron. Pawpaws. That's right. Ron Bowles got it. Thank you, Ron. Pawpaws. That's right. That's right. Just like the old folk song, picking up pawpaws, putting them in my bucket. That's exactly right.
In fact, I'd love to get the Reverend Jeff on this show. He's fun. He's a fun guy. Older guy, knows his stuff. Very, very down to earth type of guy. Runs a great podcast called The Squatcher's Lounge. He does a show every now and again. Talks about stuff like we do. Which is awesome.
We have the greatest audience, though. Our audience is the greatest out of any of the shows. You guys are so smart. I'm tickled to death to have you.
Absolutely. Now, here's another interesting thing. Yes, absolutely. I've been on his show too. Great guy. I have a lot of fun with him. When I'm on. We have some good laughs. One thing I want to say before I talk about. Somebody has a question about mixed question. I'm going to get to mixed question in a second. But people asked about the Pridgeon video, aka the New York Baby video. People say, well, why would a Sasquatch bring its young so close to a music festival just across the lake and all that other stuff? And when I went up there, not only was it the remnants of an old apple orchard,
right,
but there were wild strawberries, wild raspberries.
Right.
It was a farm there.
Right.
And there was so much fruit there that I could have pulled off and probably camped there and lived off the fruit.
Right.
So that is exactly why. So it made sense to me, why? Well, that's an easy question because you got to know the vegetation there, and you got to know the fauna there, and you got to know the food supply there. It was abundant. So. And
I got to admit, on that New York Baby video, I was in total denial for the longest time.
Thank you, Rod. I would love to have him on. That would be a lot of fun to have the good Reverend on.
That was one of the videos that I was highly skeptical of. And even years ago, me and Steve went back and forth over this. But finally, the points that I had against it were addressed, and to my satisfaction. At first I'm thinking somebody's monkey. Somebody's monkey, that's it. Yeah. Somebody's monkey, No.
No, they just add they just add the proper ambiance. That's all. We haven't heard a Yorkie or a right. You got Yorkies, right?
They're actually calmed down. I guess they really.
He slipped him a barbiturate before the show. Here, take this.
Gave all a nice tap to the top of the head before the show. No, I wouldn't abuse the Yorkies. No, actually, thank goodness they have calmed down, and everybody's asleep now. Seems to be.
Okay, so Mick asked a question back here. Has there been any news from Carmine, Dyer, or How Not to Hunt? Well, the first two, no. Mr. How to Hunt, of course, released this alleged picture that got sent to him by somebody saying it was a trail cam. It looked horrible. I'll put it up there. There it is. People wanted to know. That was the... I don't know. So, supposedly it comes from a female biologist. That sounds kind of bullshitish to me. Pardon my French, but, okay, why isn't that person? Why would the person send it to him and not, their biologist, for God's sakes? So,
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. So, yeah, and, he has posted, we showed that as far as quickly, he says, I think How to Hunt loses credibility with every video. He's dropping a lot of names. He's trying to make waves to get attention to himself. Here we've been doing the same thing here for the last, Chris, it's going to be 15 years next September.
Really?
Yeah. 15 years, this show, September 2021, this show will be 15 years old. So we're slowly
chugging
on.
But, I wasn't around for the entire duration,
No, you've been here for the last 11.
Most of it.
Yeah, most of it.
Yeah, most of it, yeah.
Most of it. Ron asked about the Mississippi swamp squatch tearing into the cypress tree. I think we looked at that way back last year, and we kind of noticed a hole in the back.
He had a tear in his suit.
Yeah, if you look closely, there seems to be a tear right where the shoulder seam would be in a costume, and it seems to change shape as it kind of uses the left arm.
It was very well done and very entertaining. He just had a little issue there with his suit, but it really looked interesting for a while.
And again, you got to look at the story behind it. Why did you stop taping? Why do we only have like 30 seconds of this? Why don't we have like 10 minutes of this?
Yeah.
Why don't we have it walking off? Why don't we have it, people say, well, I got scared and I ran away. Well, you stood there for like 35 seconds filming the thing.
Yeah.
Why don't we just carry on? It was kind of like that whole Bigfoot peeper thing. I filmed it for 8 minutes. And even though the film was allegedly destroyed in his mom's house that had a fire. Question about the Memorial Day footage. Well, here's the interesting thing. There is some conjecture about the Memorial Day footage. First there was maybe it was carrying an infant on the shoulder, and then some people say no, he took its mask off and let it hang behind them. Yeah. But the audio was the most condemning of the video, because when they finally released the audio to the video, there wasn't astonishment about it. There was actually, hey, look, there's a Bigfoot. Boy, I bet you can make $1 million off of that. And there was a lot of laughing. So that kind of threw that one under the bus a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So for the most of us, the Memorial Day footage is, meh. And not to mention when the original documentary that preceded Monster Quest was Sasquatch, When Legend Meets Science. And Dr. Meldrum was a major part of that show. That's why he eventually wrote his book with the same title. But prior to that, there was I think an hour special on, I believe it was on A&E at the time. I could be wrong. Could be History Channel. No, I think it was on History Channel. And they did a documentary. And showed. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments at the same time, so sometimes I
the chat room is hopping.
Yeah, it's hopping. And they had this guy run it as well, and he actually ran it faster than the Sasquatch did, and at the same time, so it was kind of really like disappointing for the Memorial Day footage.
That was another thing,
and I don't know if it was necessarily nervous laughter. Because they were joking about making money. Oh, we can make $1 million off of this. That wasn't nervous laughter. When you're saying I can make $1 million off of something and having a laugh about it, I don't think that's... releasing the show with Baxter, yes, that's not a bad idea. I got to find it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I got to find it. I may not have it anymore. And unfortunately, I think a person I knew who had the archive of it, I think, I really think that he lost it, so I don't know if we can recover that one. I'll see what I can do, though. And Planet Orca, welcome.
Welcome.
That is a great avatar there. Ken asked about the Marble Mountain video. Well, that's something interesting. I've looked at that sporadically. I always thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it's without the fine detail in that. The one that really makes me interested was the biologist who was up in British Columbia, and him and his buddies actually videotaped a bipedal person walking are walking along this mountain ridge by themselves, and even the biologist thought it may have been a Sasquatch. So maybe we can get that guy on, or we can take a look at that at another time. But yeah, that one really piqued my interest. Marble Mountain's tough because they also found some shelters allegedly too, and they were filming that, and then they saw that. So, and I remember the days of never seeing that, getting some of the pictures from it, but not actually seeing the video. Now we can see the video. Thank goodness for advancements in the internet. And the ramen noodle incident with Henry. Well, actually, Nick.
Was that on this show, or was it on Henry's show?
No. We replayed that one. That was actually on the Sasquatch Experience.
Yeah.
And Billy Will was filling in for Sean Forker. It was Fork and or maybe it was on Billy's show when he had it. I don't know. Sasquatch Watch Radio. And Eric was on.
Oh gosh, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
I know.
I don't think Henry was on this. I don't know. My memory's gone. I can't recall.
We gotta get Henry May back on, and he does video, so we gotta get Henry back on. But I know Henry watches The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
and that's on Sunday. So we'll see if we can't get Henry on too.
Miss Henry.
Yeah, we got so many. I want to get Dave Winter. I want to get Henry. I want to get Reverend Jeff on. We'll have a lot of fun. So yeah, we have a lot going on, and hopefully this back will keep straightened out. So anyway, folks, guess what time it is? It's just a few minutes out, just a couple of minutes away left of show. But I want to thank everybody for coming back. We're gonna keep on moving on. I'm glad to see a couple of new names. I know Quick Witty is kind of new. We haven't seen him or her on the show. I believe it's a him. And As Darkness Looms, new to the show. Glad to see you guys.
Planet Norca.
Planet Norca, welcome to the show. And if I can find Planet Norca, yes, welcome to the show. And if you guys got shows on YouTube, let me know. Send me an email. My email is admin@squatchdetective.com, admin@squatchdetective.com. And we can, maybe we can help each other out. Cross-promote. That's what it's all about. But anyway, Chris, Lowrider's been lurking. Hello, Lowrider. Good to see you.
Lowrider, yeah, welcome.
And Quick Witty, thank you so much. Welcome aboard. It's always fun. Like I said, we have the greatest audience here. We have a lot of fun, and we try to keep things lighthearted. We try to put out the best information possible without without crap or trying to make something into something that's not.
Yeah.
When we have guests on that are witnesses, we try to have some of the best witnesses that we can. So we try to give names when we can. If we can't, audience understands. But understand this too, is that when I put an anonymous guest on the show, they're not anonymous to me or Chris.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget to check out Cam Young's Sasquatch research page on Facebook. It's Cameron Young's Sasquatch research page. Go over there. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's trying like a banshee to take a look at things, and he's talked to a lot of different people, been on a lot of different shows. Good guy. And he's from one of our Canadian researchers. So cheers to you up there. And I've always said this too. I put this on Facebook last week on November 4th. I said, "Yep." I saw this off another post, but it said, "Yeah, right now all the Canadians feel like they live in the apartment above the meth lab." But anyway, folks out there, please. Yep, guys, throw your stuff out there. So, guys, please give us a like, a share, and please subscribe. Hit that notification bell to let you know when we're doing a video. I don't always do just these live shows, although haven't had much time lately. I'm back to work, but we'll be posting some other videos up there too. So, Chris, you want to say some other stuff?
Again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us from YouTube, Facebook, and all the other platforms. And remember, YouTube guys, hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell. It helps the channel. It really does.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. If you got friends that are out there, or researchers, or interested in the topic, send them over here, because we try not to steer anybody wrong. That's for sure.
Exactly.
So anyway, on behalf of me and everybody here, want to wish everybody a healthy, safe, happy week. And, of course, I got to say this. God bless everybody. God bless. Stay away from the COVID. Wear a mask. Keep your social distancing. Wash your hands. We got to say that. We want to keep our audience healthy. It's not necessarily about rights. I put my mask on not as because I'm told to. I put my mask on as a respect to my fellow man. Just in case I get it and I don't know it, I don't give it to them. And likewise, I don't want to get it either. So, folks, on behalf of me, everybody, again, have a great week. Stay healthy. God bless. And, of course, keep on squatching. We'll catch you all in a bit.
Hey folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Culls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless. And keep on squatching.